Hi there. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been on my mind for some time to do some recordings, do some videos. I can't see the long term with this. I can't say that this will be ongoing, that I'll be consistent with it. I'm not sure. I think there's many different reasons, but I also think sometimes, it's just also what I'm going through, my life in general, and how I don't want to be spread thin in a way. I don't know, I just always feel like I'm on the back foot of life and just, trying to get by and make it through. It's like almost if I was journeying through the desert, if you will, and my focus is on sort of, the destination or staying alive, and can't really entertain. It's hard to put into words, and it will take quite a while to get into. So yeah, I appreciate those of you that have emailed me, and messaged me and been in contact and asking how I'm doing and where I'm at. And I'm sorry if I haven't replied, or I didn't, we didn't continue a dialogue. For me personally, I just find it very difficult to communicate over technology. Again, I'm trying to keep my life I wouldn't say simple, but it's hard to explain, but maybe you understand just where my energy goes, There's so much to be said on that, but I just find it very frustrating. I find it very limiting, extremely limiting. And I feel it's cold, and I feel there's such a distance that it's an ache, and how does somebody actually, how do you value somebody, how do you build something with somebody, in a sense, through email or even through voice notes, and then finding that time and then including each other in each other's lives and what's going on. Because for me, I'm very much about the personal, and if I'm in relationship with somebody, I want to know about their day. I want to know what's going on for them. And I wish again that I had more people in my immediate life that I could build that with, face to face, that we could build something and be up to date with each other's lives and what's going on. And have dialogues about it and walk on this journey together, if you will, and I don't feel that I can do that with people that I was most likely never meet. Life is great, it's whatever, there's so much to be said about that, but there's much to be said. But one of the reasons for myself of making videos, I did a recording last night for about an hour, and I didn't like it. I feel like I've also lost the flow and the thread and just the cadence and just the energy and the whole nature of it. But I wanted to redo it. Also, I realized that there's so much that I want to talk about, and I don't actually know how to approach this matter. I don't know. I feel overwhelmed by it, in a sense, and I just don't know. I actually wrote some things down, that I would like to talk about, but I spent maybe 2 minutes writing things down, which was also what I spoke about last night in my recording. Just to read some of it, the big picture and the big purpose, which I think is what I'm going to title this recording, and maybe that's what this recording is going to be more so focused and based on. But the idea of being infinite, concepts like we hear all the time, we are one, we are all one, there's no separation, which is, how do we comprehend such a thing? How do we even find comfort in such a thing when it's so foreign to us, just like the idea of our own infinity, which ties into the fact that we are infinite and we're here on some kind of pilgrimage, right? Which is far away from our source, far away from separation, far away from our home. We have no idea how alien the body, the existence, the mind, the childhood, the narrative, and everything else is to our actual true essence and being of where we come from and how finite it is. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's absurd. I just think, and I really do resonate with when I hear about near-death experience, people talk about the overwhelmment of how majestic it is in the afterlife or the real world, and how fluid and just so much, and how this world is such a low experience, such a separated environment, and yet when we get there, a lot of our memories just fade. Like when you wake up from a dream. I find that definitely, especially if I sleep in the afternoon and I wake up and I can remember my dreams for maybe 20 seconds and it's gone. That's how ephemeral, short-lived. So much of our lives is so insignificant in the magnitude of things, and there's so much we could talk about with that as well. But I'm saying concepts that we can't really understand, and yet we pretend to as a culture, more so like, of such magnitude of, there's too much to get into, I'm getting tongue-tied. But again, how self-direct experience is really the only thing that's going on here to a certain degree, and concepts and beliefs, and whether it's religions. I've been studying quite a bit on Christianity lately, and just dogmas and culture, and oh my goodness me, and how limiting and how crazy it is, and how insane it actually is. The idea that we believe, or people that know what we can know. As Carl Jung says, he doesn't believe in God. He knows God exists, but we have no concept in this limited, separated form. So that was just one thing that I wanted to talk about. In regards to, you see, this is very, very hard to do. I could do a mind map type of thing. You see, I don't know if it's necessary. I'll just tell you some of the other things that I wanted to write. What fuels the Truman Show? How narcissism kind of works. Sort of the spiritual side of narcissism. Again, that word spiritual, what does that mean? But more like energy. What's the energy exchange of narcissism? Where does it come from? Where does it stem from? And what is it in service to and of? And it's contagious and it's on the rise. And so I want to talk about that. Oh, you see, there's too many things. Waiting on the end, the war on consciousness. Do we actually survive childhood? NPC, soul groups, and AI, the perfect opium for the masses. Let me see if this is recording. So much to talk about. We can speak for hours and days and weeks and months. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I spend 90% of my time on my own. Okay. I do voice recordings to my mother, who I'm in touch with all the time. And my mother we seem to be on the same wavelength to certain degrees. We talk more about the psychology of things, not so much the bigger purpose of life or the bigger picture, or a purpose for, the bigger purpose, let's just say. But we talk about the intricacies, and she's in a relationship that I've had, that I'm also with people that in a relationship with it. Similar templates, similar blueprints. Narcissism. Again, you can meet somebody in South Africa, right? Or you could go to Bangladesh, and if they tick certain traits and something like that, you can see you can predict and understand their behavior. If I speak to a guy whose girlfriend is a covert narcissist, and he tells me, and let's say he's read up quite a bit, he knows what he's talking about, he's just not screaming from the rooftops, narcissist. I can tell him, without having met his girlfriend, about his life to a degree, and what's going on, and the behavior. And he'll be like, yeah, you're spot on. I'm not just saying that, but I see it in comment sections of videos of, people who speak on, narcissism, for example. And you'll see the comments of what people, and they share an experience, and it'll be like, this is the exact same with me. This is, You know, this is how it goes. You're talking about my husband, you're talking about my mother, you're talking, but you know, like Sam Vaknin has never met, Richard Grannon has never met, Dr. Ramani, I can't remember, the Indian lady. So many people, you know, and the comments is like, so what's going on there? There's almost like a software that's running, you know, and it's downloaded or so, you know. I want to talk about that. I find that interesting. And where is the soul of that individual? Is there really a soul? You know, are they NPCs? And on my journey and my own discovery, you know, working these things out. So again, now, you see, I'm trailing off somewhere else because I'm talking about my own life. I'm talking about what I discussed. My mother said, let's bring it back. So my mother mostly, and you know, that sounds quite weird and strange to people because, you know, I'm going to be 45 years old. My mother's 72. And yet we wouldn't have managed to get to this far in life and become who we become without each other in our lives. And I only see her once a month for like 2 days. And our situations are almost identical in her relationship with somebody in her life and a relationship with somebody in my life. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm in a relationship with them. So let me get a bit more specific, you know. So I'm co-parenting a 3.5-year-old boy. Okay, which I've been doing for the last while. I never really spoke about it. It's been a very rough ride. I never wanted to be a father. He doesn't call me dad, you know, he calls me Aaron. It's been a very, very difficult relationship because of his mother. Some of you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, somebody that I came into her life and gave her, she didn't just win the lottery with me. She didn't just become a multi-millionaire overnight. I'm saying that's it, like financially. But in every single way, she hit the jackpot. And she came from very troubled upbringing and traumatic times and everything else. And when I met her, she could barely put food on the table. 2 older children, etc. I came into her life. There was no question about it. And I will never doubt that I came into her life to facilitate change, healthy change and growth in her life. And with all the love, with all the self-sacrifice and my own codependency, which it's taught me about, there has been minute change. Minute change. Almost insignificant change. Maybe it's changed just because of age. You know, the last 5 years, she's going to be 40, actually. Yeah, in a few days' time. But I mean, I'm not going to buy her birthday present, whatever it is. I'm saying I'm just around, and I live in Durban. I still live in Durban in a big house on my own, right? Because of this boy. And we could get into the whole reasons for myself, how I do see myself in him, and I see my own childhood, and he teaches me so much because of his sensitivity. He's a beautiful boy, you know, and I can't abandon him. Even though his mother has pushed me way right out of her life and tried to push me out of his life because she's impulsive, because she's self-sabotaging, because she carries the theme, the software of narcissism. And I never knew this. And I never knew. I've always projected my virtues and qualities onto others. And I've always given people the benefit of the doubt. I've always done that, and so did my mother. And that's something that I struggle with so often of the time. Is that how did I dare be that kind of person? How did I mean, this lady has taken so much money from me and has manipulated me, and I have felt sorry for her, and I thought just a little bit more and she's going to change. I'll give her a little bit more and she'll change. Give her a little bit more, and never changed, and promised to, and manipulated me, but like on such a degree. I mean, she came from a troubled childhood. She learned how to be a hustler at a young age. That's how she learned to survive. But she's bewildering because she hasn't got any parents, she hasn't got any family, and she hasn't worked in 4 or 5 years. And her children, so you would think that she would hang on to me for dear life, but she doesn't. She doesn't, because, listen to this, because of the shame. Because at the core of narcissism is shame. There isn't remorse. There isn't so much guilt. It's just shame. Unadulterated shame. And so the thing is that if I'm not in her life, then she hasn't let me down. She hasn't let herself down, right? For many different reasons, And then I can get on with my life and have a happier life without her. That's what she thinks. So it's like she's doing me a favor. Also, at the same time, she doesn't deserve me, which she doesn't. But she was supposed to live up to deserving me. I came into her life for that very reason. And so I've lost a lot of hope, not just with her, but in humanity, in people. In people. That's why I'm skeptical of also making videos, and I most likely will take off the comment section. Because I'm very cynical about people today. And not everybody, but most. Again, there's not one male figure in my life that I can look up to that is older than me. There is not one person. And the people who know me, my brothers and everybody else, and I go to these AA meetings still, and I go to these NA meetings, and nobody comes up to me and says to me, listen, I'd like to have a cup of coffee with you. I have some questions. Maybe you can help me on something or other. Nobody sees my value and my worth. And I do believe that I have that to offer, And I do believe that I felt that way with my previous videos, and I would say to people, listen, I want to know that somebody's listening to me. I have a deep insecurity, and I've had my whole life that most people just don't want to hear what I have to say. Or they do, but it's entertainment. That it's not significant enough, because I feel that time is of the essence. And it's so vital that when we spend time together in this fashion, that we're actually learning and growing for dear life, for our very well-being, not because it's nice, not because it's a Tony Robbins, motivational, not because it's Jay Chetty or something like that. No, nothing like that, because this is the difference between unconscious and conscious, and pain and suffering, which is inevitable, life and death, and being able to get to the next chapter of our lives. Again, being able to get to be in touch with as well. This is maybe where we can bring this down to the bigger purpose. Not just the bigger purpose, the big purpose, or the biggest purpose that there possibly is. And what is that, What is that? Like, what are we actually doing here? And this is something that I struggle with, because by general default of day-by-day living, we are not in touch with the bigger purpose of things. We have a rough idea about it, but we're not in touch with it. I can't be, or at least I'm not, and I wish I could be. And that's why one of the reasons I started doing I might start doing recordings again. I don't smoke Mary Jane, so I'm trying to plug this in here. I don't smoke Mary Jane, so I believe that would help. I don't take plant medicines. I would like to, but also at the same time, I'm very fragile. For myself, I'm very fragile. Some of you will get that, some of you won't, which is fine. But because of the mundane that I live in, because of the Truman Show reality that I live in, because of the city that I live in, right? Because of the lack of communication with others and dialogue and space with other conscious individuals, I'm very, very much like, disconnected. Very, very disconnected. The things that I rely on is dreams at night, to a certain degree, to have to space out, if you will. To wake up from the dream and just feel that little bit of a difference, feel like I've been somewhere else, except this now. Again, 90%, I'm like almost in solitary confinement, except for this boy that I spend time with, like say 3 times a week, depending on his mother's mood, sometimes none a week, and there's nothing I can do about it. But besides for him, right, I'm on my own. And I go to these AA meetings and NA meetings because I get out the house and I'm surrounded by other people, right? But at the same time, I used to go and I used to share like deeply. And then I realized to myself, one guy came up to me afterwards, this really aggressive guy, And he says to me, listen, buddy, I want to tell you something, but and this comes from a good place. So you listen good. Yeah, it sounded like it came from a good place. You can see, and I've had problems with bullies my whole life. Came to me and says, you're talking about things that are not in the program. I'll bring up, for example, Dr. Gabriel Mate. People don't know who the hell that is. You know what I'm saying? Who is this guy? Is he involved in the big book? Like, what's he about? And we're talking about trauma. People don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear things like that. They don't want to hear what is addiction. They don't want to hear. They all want to just sit around most of the time. And this is my experience. And I'm not saying that this is worldwide. I'm saying that this is the experience of Durban, of where I live. And this is what I feel like goes on. And they just repeat themselves. They just regurgitate themselves. It's like when I used to go to synagogue as a child, shul, as a Jewish child. You just repeat the same things 3 times a day, every single day, every single day, over and over and over. It's the same thing. There isn't really any pain brought in the room or suffering. And that's why the numbers are so low as well. It's such a pretense, here. It's all like just worshipping the program and handing your will over to God. It's like that doesn't make sense, guys. Maybe in the beginning, but God gave you free will. They say, no, I can't do any thinking of my own. I hand it over to God. I'll be like, so how do you know God's doing the thinking for you? And when I start thinking for myself, then my life goes, gets into problems. They carry so much shame of themselves being an addict and all the things that they've done. But they don't realize why they became an addict. They don't realize that they're a vulnerable, sensitive child that doesn't survive childhood. They don't realize that they're not messed up, that they're not bad people in a sense. And well, if I stay sober, then that means I'm a decent person. Like there's really no self-love there, or actualize, or just even meeting oneself. It's ridiculous. And you know what? Anyways, I can go on about that. But I would go to the program because I felt to share. And I felt that was really impacting. And I really enjoyed the space because I was under the illusion that it was making a difference. But then I realized that, you know what? It's no different to all the Buddhist temples that I went to and the yoga retreats that I went to and the psychedelic parties that I went to back in the day. And this desperate search to find the others and connect. This desperate, the authentic being, the authentic soul. And you know what? 45 years later, okay, I'm saying I'm 45, but on my journeys, I haven't found anybody. I know that you are there in the world. I know that you're out there, some of you, right? Probably a lot. But not within my proximity. Not within my proximity. So one of the reasons for my recording is trying to connect now in this recording in a way to create a space for myself right now in the mundane. It's Sunday night, I'm starving, I've got to go make supper, which can take me about an hour. I'm going to put my laptop on. Sometimes I can't concentrate, so I'll put on something stupid like, a comedy like the Ghost series of 2021. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. Like Seinfeld. I know Seinfeld almost word for word. But I can't. Or The Office. Because I have it playing in the background. Not all the time, but when I'm cooking. Not all the time. Sometimes I just find it hard to get into a new movie and to learn the characters and then to get into the meaning of it. I'm not somebody who can just binge watch and not take something from a show, from something that I watch. I've got to get involved. I've got to be enriched by it. I've got to be impacted by it. It's got to mean something to me. It can't just be, I'm saying if I'm really getting into something. And I'm always playing something, like I'm saying when I go shower, I have to play Ghosts or Seinfeld. I can't, because otherwise the silence is deafening. The loneliness feels like, just the doors, the walls are closing in and the roof is coming down and the floor is moving up, and I just feel like I'm going to get squashed or just, no, not even squashed, just that the space is going to get so small. There's going to be like coffin size, and that's what it feels like. So if I play a little bit of something in the background, it's like company. How long I have searched for company, and how much I've been let down by people. There's someone particular to the channel, if she's listening, you're listening in America, won't mention your name, known her for since the beginning of my recordings, that it turned out to be such a disaster. Such a heartbreak. Oh my goodness me. But did I learn, and I'm not going to hold back, did I learn about COVID narcissism? To the nth degree. And I didn't really know about it so much to the degree, and I gave this person so much love, so much attention, so much care. And the more that I did, the more abuse I got back. The more violent behavior I got back. The more I was told, just be careful. Aaron, just be careful. I'm just even telling myself now. You know, she was even talk about her maybe coming here. And if she's listening to this here, she will blame me completely and utterly and entirely. And I never once, I had a defense. It was once I said, like, this is just COVID narcissism. I had to say that. You know, and I begged her, I said, listen, is there a chance that you don't have to feel that I'm attacking you? Is there a chance that you can stop this behavior for yourself, darling? I would call her darling and dear. And I told her, you know, and feelings, you're such a wonderful person, such a beautiful person. And like you're trapped by your childhood, and your sister and your parents and your environment own you. And you self-sabotage. Like, I was really only there for self-empowerment, just like I was in this boy's mother that I'm raising. Well, kind of raising, who spends time with me. People are not interested. They are not interested, right? So when I go to the AA, and that's fine. If people want that, but for myself, that longing to connect. Now, when you talk about female company, I've been on dating apps, you know? I've been on dating apps, and look, majority of the people here in South Africa, and it's not like I haven't dated black girls before, black women, I have, you know, but 85% of them are black on the dating apps, and 80% of them are overweight, but like extreme. It's like crazy, round face, like next round face, but like, and I don't know. I just think that it's not attractive for me, you know. But I'm just saying, it's like how many, and it just goes to show the level, you know, of just where people are holding. But I'm saying extreme, like weight, like huge. Next one. So 85% are black, 10% are Indian, and 5% are white. And the white women are not interested in me whatsoever. No, the black people are to a degree, but whatever. I did meet this one woman. It turned out she was very lovely, an Indian lady, a lawyer, lovely lady, beautiful lady. But what I did find out was that, well, firstly, she's completely underweight, and when she writes her exams, she needed to pass the bar. This is what she did. She, for 3-4 months before her exam, she would get home from work. She would take Ritalin and Red Bull from 7 at night to 12 in the morning. Then she would take it again, Red Bull and Ritalin, and then she would sleep from 4 to 6. Then she would get up and go to work, and she would do this every single day of the week except on the weekends. The weekends, she would basically, I think, 1 or 2 hours of sleep on Friday night, you know, or Saturday morning. The whole day, Ritalin and Red Bull, the whole day, and then the whole 2 hours sleep on Saturday night, and literally the whole of Sunday. I mean, the craziness. And she would do this for 3-4 months. She wasn't exaggerating. And before she knew my reaction, she was like, yeah, she had a mental breakdown the last time that she did this, but it's worth it. She says, you don't know what it's like to compete in a high-functioning society and whatever it is, and whatever. And her sister is a doctor. Her sister's a GP, and the sister's prescribing the Ritalin and everything else. She's on this she was on the most hectic, I don't know what it's called, for pimples, for acne. Her lips are always cracked and dried, you know. She just looked so unwell. I mean, you're only supposed to be on it for like 3-4 months, like max. She's been on for like 2.5 years. Just for her beauty. She washes her hair twice a day. Like, she was excessive, but I just saw a beautiful person there. But so scary, like for me, when I realized how somebody is so engrossed in the narrative. And she saw me and she felt me, and we had a few dinners together. You know, she came. It was lovely. It was so lovely. But my word, did it turn out badly. So there's often in my life where I struggle with that acceptance and that surrendering to, like, okay, this is what it is. Like to have no female company. I went away. I went with my father and stepmom to a place called Plettenberg Bay in December, because here in the south hemisphere, whatever the school holidays is more so December time, December, early January. So I went there and I was looking forward to a quiet, because it's a small town and I actually would love to live there. And I went there, and my stepmom, it was ridiculous. She's afraid of snakes, and she heard that there might be snakes like within the suburb, in the houses. So she didn't want that. So she booked us into this like hotel type of thing on the main streets of Plet, and I was just surrounded by nightclubs at night. That's what you get. I haven't been in nature for so long. And I'm not going to drive out and go into nature on my own because it's too heartbreaking. Anyways, I'm going to carry away with the story. And I'm looking because there's a lot of people there in Plet, and it's a holiday vibe, and I don't see any woman that I connect with, like no one really. And then I'm at the airport. It's a very long story. I told the story last night in my other recording. It's too long. Basically, I saw her. She was beautiful. I'm just saying beautiful. I'm saying beautiful in every way. That's what I mean by beautiful. Magical. Like just. And I went up to her and I started talking to her, and I just wanted to hug her, and there was instant connection, like that, like it was fire, just fire. And I was smiling and she was smiling. It was almost like I've known this woman my whole life. But what I wasn't paying attention to is that my flight had already boarded, and I was the last passenger. So I was actually thinking to myself, why isn't there a queue, for people to board the plane? She said, no, everyone's boarded already. I said, what? And I looked at my ticket and I went up to the lady, at the front, and she said, no, we're waiting for you. And I was like, oh shit, I felt so bad. And I ran back to this woman. I didn't even think to ask her name. I had no time. But she was beautiful. And on the plane, I thought to myself, well, she's flying to Johannesburg. She said that she lives in Potchefstroom, which gives me no information. And she's going to, where was she going to teach English? In Cambodia or something like that. And I was on the aeroplane back to Durban. I thought maybe I can phone somebody at the airport, like at one of the restaurants there, and ask them and say, listen, I'll give you 500 rand if you just go give this woman my phone number. I was so desperate, but so I got back to Durban, I got off the plane and I started phoning the restaurants in Johannesburg airport, because I know them. I know their airports. I know it's Mug and Bean, it's Woolworths, it's Nando's, it's Steers, it's whatever it is. And everyone that I phoned, no one was answering the phone. It was a crazy idea. How would they have recognized her? I would have told them who she is, what she was wearing, what she looked like, and stand by this gate, because I knew the flight number. I found it all out, but it never happened. So I hold on to breadcrumbs of what I get. It's so far from like an option. I'm supposed to have this with this, the mother of this boy, and we have a deep connection, but it's so far. There's more drama than anything else. There's more conflict with her than anything else. There's more manipulation than anything else. She can run me dry, bankrupt, and not feel a thing about it. She feels nothing that I can be on my own on my birthday. She feels nothing that I'm on my own during Christmas time if I'm here or whatever. She feels nothing, because this is people for you. People are inherently selfish. And I'm saying that like 97% of the people that I meet are downright selfish. And we can get into what I mean by selfish. They only do things that benefit themselves. That's the only way that they are motivated. It's the only thing that they do. And I know that's a generalization of all kind. I don't care. I'm yet to be proven wrong. People are out for themselves, and people are out to disempower others as well, to get one up on people. That's a whole nother discussion, but I don't know if we're going to keep that for another day, if we're going to move into that whole side of things, which I would like to do, because for myself it's important to flesh this out, to get in touch with the bigger picture. Not the picture, it's not a picture, it's the bigger purpose. fleshing out these ideas, talking about them, getting into them, seeing the Truman Show, ripping it apart, seeing the script, seeing the code of it, seeing the players in the game, seeing where we possibly come from and where we're going from and what our real source code is and where we are really from and how foreign this world is and how it's the absolute opposite, not the antithesis, but the absolute opposite of so much, and how necessary and how urgently there is no time to be wasted. There's no time to be wasted because this thing is trying every single day. We carry it in our being, in our biology, and it's been conditioned and used, and there's just so much to it. It's an energy, it's a demiurge. There's something here. Call it the Truman Show, call it the Matrix, whatever you want to call it Plato's Cave, whatever you want to call it. And it's the master, and there are slaves, and the slaves are everywhere, and it is trying to steal and rob and from us as well, from myself as well. I'm saying in this very nature, like it's hard to get into, but I don't know. Sometimes I do feel that there's this like element in my life which is almost, and it is for my own good at the end of the day, but like if I had 2 more minutes with that woman at the airport, my life could be very, very different. I truly, honestly feel and believe that. You might say, well, I don't know. No, this woman, we had an instant connection. Instant. She didn't even know. Like I was speaking to her. Basically, I said, "How long are you going to Cambodia for?" I think it was Cambodia. She says, "I don't know. I'm just gonna rock up there." A free spirit. So you know what? Come live with me. I'm saying, or I wouldn't say move in right away. Obviously, I don't know her that well. And that's another thing, is that you can connect with somebody, so maybe it wouldn't have worked out. And there is that possibility. But you know what? I'll never know. And I can't trust the universe and have faith and whatever it is. Look, at the same time, I'm going to contradict myself because everything is the way that it's supposed to be to a certain degree that I don't actually know how it works. And I can't, living in the flesh and having emotion, and when this boy that is in my life and he gets hurt and I see his fragility and certain things and I say it's unfair, or I see things in my life that are unfair, that are unjust, I can't understand it. I can't understand it. Because it does. There's no question about it. My life feels more like it's like I'm thrown to the wolves almost every day. Again, I can't believe that I was naive, how naive and how I was. Like, it's just crazy. The person that I used to be. I'm just going to have some vape if you don't mind. The person that I used to be, I was literally you also. All sent out amongst the wolves, a sheep amongst the wolves, to such a degree, it's scary. It makes me feel so vulnerable. How my childhood, when I see this son, this child of mine, this boy that I look after, and I think to myself, if he was raised in my household, in my upbringing, I know, I witness it. There's constructs in my mind, there's programs in my mind that are running, that are directly from my childhood. And let me tell you, they're not in support of who I am whatsoever. They're not. And I can see it. Especially because I grew up as the youngest child. So I had 3 older brothers. And they'll look at me still like I'm the youngest. And I still feel like when I'm with them that I'm the youngest. But I'm going to be 45. It's like I'm not really a man. I don't think they're men, personally, That's a whole nother thing. But for myself, so programs in my mind that are running, like intimidated by other people where I shouldn't be. This guy who came up to me, at the AA meeting, after the meeting, he said, "Listen, the things that are not in the program and that you talk about, And from then I just shut up. I don't really share anymore, especially when he's not in the room. If he's in the room, I don't share. If he's in a meeting, I'm saying with us, I don't share. I also felt embarrassed to myself that I felt like after I did share deeply and I thought it was very significant and meaningful to people, and then I realized that it wasn't. Well, you could say, well, Aaron, you don't know, maybe it planted a seed. Maybe it did, but you can't plant a seed on concrete and expect it to grow. They're not there for that kind of stuff. There was this one course we did on it was called on emotional sobriety, and it was for like 3-4 months, and you could see that no one really took anything from it, and I thought it was pretty insightful. It was written a long time ago, whatever it is, and you can just see, so it's not fertile ground. They're not there for that. It's like some people just go to gym for a light workout. They're going there, they want to lose a few calories, burn off a few calories, lose a few pounds, kilos. They just want to, that's what they want to do. They're not there to actually build muscle and to refine and, and shape their body in that way. I mean, I'm obviously using this as a metaphor. Some are, maybe it's not the best metaphor, but that's it. A lot of people just come here, which again I'd like to talk to you about, is more so comfort and empowerment. That's it. That's the two things in town. Two games in town is power and in comfort. Comfort is pleasure. That's it. That's the NPC, that's the narcissist, that's majority. That's like majority of the world. That's what they want. Empowerment by also putting other people down. However, there's all different ways. We are trained, we are practiced, we are highly skilled to do this. We don't even know that we're doing it. Our nature, it's like, we have been brainwashed. It's like Jason Bourne, the guy, I don't really watch them. I think I know the idea that he hasn't got a memory, but he realizes that he can do all these incredible things, and he can read the room and work things out, and he's got these kung fu or whatever, I know kung fu, he knows all these things, but he doesn't even aware that how it happened. And that's like us. We have been trained to eat each other alive. Doesn't matter if it's a mother to a child. I've seen it. I've seen my situation, a mother put her own needs before their own child. That happens all the time. Just because it's a child, just because it's a mother, just because it's a father, it doesn't matter. This kind of energy, this sort of narcissism, this sort of whatever you want to call it, knows no boundaries. It knows it's indifferent to any morals, values, ethics, anything pure. It makes no difference. It makes no difference. Anyway, I'm getting carried away, talking about other things now. So, coming back to what I was saying is that for myself, I also found that with my channel that I didn't feel significant. And I felt like, again, I'm taking my time, I'm taking my energy, I'm taking the investment. And is it landing in fertile soil? Is it making a difference? Because I want to know that my energy is going somewhere. That my love, my care, my effort, for what my own discovery and what I've worked out to be who I am myself, and the treasure of who I am and my existence, and for it to fall on fertile soil. But of course, the program part of me says, well, Aaron, you've got nothing to offer anybody. There's more interesting things for people to be doing, There's ChatGPT now. There's so much. There's so many series. There's so many other people on YouTube that they could be listening to. There's so many podcasts. There's so many things. There's so many better things that they can do than rather to be listening to you. I remember how painful it was when I first started journaling, and that voice in my head started saying, Aaron, what a waste of time. It was my brother's voice. Look at you. What are you going to write about your feelings? Oh, who cares about your feelings? You're here to worship God and to make Dad proud and be like whatever. I saw it and I see it. I see there's a young guy in AA. He's a very nice guy. He's young. He's lower than 20. One time I got in trouble before when I used to speak about AA. I made up a guy's name and I talked about his share. And somebody came in the comments section and said, how dare you talk out of the rooms of AA? What's in the room, stay in the room. I thought to myself, oh my word. You guys have no idea who I'm talking about. I'm using it as a reference point. I'm using it as an example. It's all for well-being. It's all for healing. It's all for saving our own souls here.
somebody comes in and says, well, you're betraying what that's... Oh, do me a favor. So ridiculous. Anyways, it's insanity. So, this young guy, and I can see how he lives. I know that voice inside of my head, the self-criticism, used to be so bad. It's still bad today, don't get me wrong. But it is so bad that you don't deserve anything, that you're insignificant, that you got nothing to offer anybody. So I put on quite a bit of weight and I wanted to lose it. So I started walking on the beach for like half an hour, right? And I push myself and I pace myself and I'm exhausted and I'm sweating and my legs are sore. And there'll still be a voice being like, yeah, but Aaron, you're not really doing exercise. Like my father runs 2.5 hours. He runs like 22 kilometers on a Sunday and like 10 kilometers 3 times a week in the morning, 10 kilometers each time. It's like, Aaron, you're coming along. Look at you. Always just feeling like this child who is lost, that deserves to be bullied by his brother, because I was bullied every single day by my brother, and I mean every single day when my parents turned the other way, looked the other way. My father was indifferent to me. My mother was indifferent to me. I was abandoned. Yes, I had 2 parents growing up, but I didn't exist. I was insignificant. I was the problem child because my brother, when you talk about narcissism, why was it that my brother, when I was 4 years old, my mother told me it was more so when I started at 4 or 5 years old, he started bullying me like tremendously. This was a boy that was 8 years old. And let me tell you, he got pleasure out of causing me pain. 8 years old. Oh, there's a darkness inside human beings. There's an evil inside human beings that exists. We don't come here necessarily with a clean slate. There's something that carries through the DNA, that carries through the genetics, something that's here. Something is here. And it's more prevalent and it's more obvious than God is, or the light, or love. Am I wrong? Challenge me on that. Challenge me. Yeah, obviously I can look out my window and see a bit of nature, or see a bee and a bird, and I see the sunset. Sure, I understand that. But on a day-to-day narrative, come on, do me a favor. You're telling me that darkness doesn't run the show, the unconscious doesn't run the show, the narcissism, the primate mind, whatever it is, doesn't run the show, that the wounds, that the ego, the super ego doesn't, come on. There's my brother at that age. How did I feel about myself? Doing like putting his knees on my arms, and then doing ants, like crawling on me and tickling me and pinching me, and how does that feel? And the things that he used to do. Dog poo in my bed. So when I opened my bed at night, I got into bed, dog poo. Nice. How did I feel about myself? And when I went to tell my parents about it, they said, just ignore him and he'll stop doing it. My father. What did he want from me? I sucked at academics. I failed. And that's what it was. You're just gonna fail. You're a moron. You're an ox. He used to say you're an ox. Yeah. Go watch my 600 Pound Life. I sometimes watch it on YouTube. And see the childhood of these people. See the childhood of these people. And see what they've done to themselves. 600 pounds. My 600 Pound Life. And realize that underneath that is just a wounded child. And there's a skeleton underneath all of that weight of what people do to themselves. That's just one example. But every single one of their childhoods. We are broken by our childhoods. We do not leave childhood. So for myself, still lives within me today. There's no question about it. It gets better, but sometimes depending on certain days. Like now, while I've been talking, it hasn't come to me and said, Aaron, you're talking too long. People are not interested in what you have to say. But last night in the recording, it did, just depending on my mood. It's there when I wake up in the morning. Let me tell you, it's more there than a very loving and supportive voice, and a reassuring voice, and a reconfirming voice of my worth and my value and all of those things. Oh yeah, for sure. I hear it all the time. With less intensity, and I really feel I don't know how I got to the level of where I'm at now. to where it was before. How bad it was. So bad. I remember I used to metal detect on the beach, not that even long ago. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I used to say, Aaron, you'll never find anything, like nothing. You might find like a few coins, and that's it, because you're pathetic. And I'm busy waving this thing around, the metal detector, and this is going on in my head. And you know what? You should be working now, but you're on the beach because you're a bum, and look at your father and everybody else. But let me tell you, their lives are insignificant. They don't have real relationships. They have no depth in their life. They have no richness in their life. And I'm telling you that, and I know that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm embittered. I'm embittered because, I feel sorry for them. But I mean, at the end of the day, because that's also their lives. My father and my brother, so successful and married and children and whatever it is, and brilliant. My brother's brilliant with AI and what he does with it, and his software design, and he's got this and he's got all. And let me tell you, it means bobkas. It's important to put food on the table. But what I'm saying is that obviously that the way of my life, and also for yourself as well, is not valued in the culture that we live in. We know that it's not deemed as necessary, worthy, have any significance or value in it. Of course not. It's the demiurge, it's the Matrix, it's the Truman Show, and that's why it's so hard for me. Like, I can't believe that I don't have somebody significant in my life that can remind me of who I am as a true essence and a person, and who I am and how far I've come. My mother, to a degree, but she's also putting out fires all the time. She's putting out fires all the time, relentlessly. She's consumed by it, her situations and everything else. Had she known better, she would have made different decisions. So that's why it's like cutting edge that I come to my mother with new information on narcissism, on sociopaths, on psychopaths. All of the information I'm coming, the wounded child, how the regress, that somebody who can be 80 years old, even though their body and their whatever it is, but their mind is a 3-year-old emotional child, and how they regress the older that they get because they live unfulfilled lives. So I'm saying a lot here, and there's so much more to be said, but that's the constant battle every single day. And you know what? Maybe there isn't somebody in my life because I have to do this on my own, because if there was somebody in my life, then it wouldn't be so difficult. And therefore wouldn't be so rewarding, and therefore I wouldn't grow enough as I need to grow. Because I'm telling you now, especially in the times that we're living in, because also there's massive opportunities. I'm going to start ending off, because there's also massive opportunities here with the technology, with the way that the world is just so out of control, and whatever it is, and the availability of resources for self-transformation, of self-actualization, of awakening, of whatever you want to call it, I mean, how limited people were before, and how one-dimensional they were before. It's crazy to think about it. So now we have the opportunities. We have Carl Jung AIs, which are brilliant. That's really what I've learned in regards to empathy, empaths, and narcissism with Carl Jung's AI. They're based on his work and loosely and whatever it is, and some of it are very bad, like Dr. Gabriel Mate's ones, AI. Are not good. I think they're very bad, because again, it makes you feel like when the narcissist leaves you, that they will be broken, that they're losing the best kind of resource and nutrients that you gave them, and it makes you feel like, it's dangerous. There's a lot of danger, because AI will always be, well, not always, but it complements you, and you're the hero type of thing. And so it does that within the psychology realm as well, which we can get into another time. I mean, I'm just, but I've seen it, I listened to it, and it's highly repetitive. But there's brilliant things. I've written down notes. I haven't listened for a while. The Psychoanalyst, I think it was the one website. And obviously all the comments, all the replies from the channel are AI. When I first realized that, because it was brilliant. I thought to myself, this guy releases a video. He releases like 2 videos a day, right? And replies to every single comment like that. And I realized, okay, obviously, this is quite a while ago. But I see people that don't realize that they're talking to AI. And it's brilliant. The way that it phrases it, the way that it replies to the person is just incredible. It is amazing. So there is amazingness, things that we have at our potential, that we have at our fingertips. But it is neck and neck now. As Terence McKenna would say, it's a photo finish. Like I'm saying, it is neck and neck now. we don't know how they're going to clamp down in the future. The Truman Show, the people of the Matrix. We don't know. I'm telling you, it's frightening. We are. So that's it. We have to self-discover, and do what we need to do. Self-transform. I don't know what you want to call it. Leave the limited mind frame and the fears and whatever it is, the conditioning behind, right? And need to break through it all. Because if we don't first, it'll consume us. And if we don't do it in time, it might be too late. We might not do a significant enough job. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem. So that's why I feel it's imperative. And that's why maybe I feel that it's like, for me, I'm up close and personal with it every day. I'm with my loneliness every single day. And it is so despairing. It is so heartbreaking. I met this woman the other day as well. It was ridiculous. I helped her out with money because her mother was in hospital. A lovely lady. And I just said to her, listen, can we have a cup of coffee? And she said, yeah, definitely. It never happened. 3 weeks later, every excuse in the book. And I helped her out. And she's going to pay me back. Whether she will, I'm not sure. But then again, I was trying to give her the money, be supportive, so that I can be impacting in her life, and that, we can spend some time together. Innocent. But 3 weeks later, and full of excuses. Also, and then blaming me. Not really blaming me, but just full of excuses. It just doesn't happen for me. If I paid like 3,000 Rand to get a lady of the night to come and spend the time with me, then I'll have some company. That's the only way. Look, there are other options, but I'm saying that I can meet people, and I could. It's not a problem. There's many people on these dating apps, but you understand, why would I even go there? It would be ridiculous. Anyways. But I'm saying to have somebody in my physical company, besides for this boy, is impossible. It's literally impossible. Well, on a meaningful level, a significant level. So that's what I'm faced with that every single day, and this is what I'm working with. Anyways, I'm getting carried away here. So that's maybe what it's about. But either way, I know that when this is over, I know that one day I won't be living in this house, and I would have completely forgotten about this house. And I would have completely forgotten about this recording that I did. I would have completely forgotten about this desk that I've had for so long. It'll all go. I'll look in the mirror, and I'll be old, grey and wrinkled. I don't know if I'll live that long or whatever. Who knows what the world is happening. But all of it, the clothes that I'm wearing, the phone that I'm using, all of it will be gone. Long gone, it'll be a distant memory. So it won't be significant. My loneliness and isolation in the world that it was, what will be significant at the end of the day? What will matter? What will be the purpose of it all at the end of the day? What will be the purpose? And that you've got to ask for yourself, what is the purpose of your life? For your specific, particular, peculiar life. And are you living it? Whatever that means, I don't know. Yeah, anyways, there's much to be said. You know what, at least I don't live with the fear. I was watching the movie Spaceman. I love that movie with Adam Sandler. What a beautiful movie. What an epic show. What a brilliant, I can't speak highly enough of it. And he says, the one time, when he finally realizes it, he says, I've lived a life for all the wrong reasons. Pow! I was just like, what did he just say? That humility, that ability to, I was just moved. I just couldn't believe it. I was just astounded by it. It was just so beautiful. And I think to myself, if at least I can say 100% that I haven't lived a life for all the wrong reasons. And that's what matters at the end of the day. When our time comes, that's all that will matter. That's all that will matter. Was it significant and was it a purposeful life? Yes, it was pain and suffering and misery and despair, and really the odds were against you 95% of the time. Sure, some things were in your favor 100%, but generally that's what went down. But what do you have to say for yourself, and what do you have to show for yourself? Not to anybody else, that's secondary, but to yourself. But to yourself, to your own existence. Because you do carry a unique code and your own unique existence and your own divinity in that way. And that's the bigger purpose of what we're doing here, I believe. Alright, thanks for taking the time. Thank you for listening. How long have I been speaking for? Almost an hour. Alright, take care.